Good morning. I hope you're all doing well this morning. We've got a super snowy day here. All the schools are closed in our area, so kids are home and dealing with all that craziness. But I wanted to do a quick video for you. We've been talking for the last couple of weeks about punishment and sort of my philosophies behind children's behavior and why I don't see punishment as an effective tool for managing children's behavior. But we can't just leave it at that. You need to do something. You can't just let children run wild, right? And so people are always wondering, well, if you don't punish them, then how are you going to manage their behavior? So that's what we're going to about today. We're going to talk about how to set limits. Before I get into talking about how you're going to set limits, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in your child's brain when they're off track. Particularly young children, even older children, us as adults, when we're having a tantrum, because we all have tantrums at all ages. Um, when this is happening, things are going on in the brain that really help to explain why punishment isn't effective. Okay, so what's happening when your child is having a tantrum? The higher level of brain, where all the thinking happens, that's gone offline. They cannot be logical in that moment. Telling them to stop or trying to reason with them, explain to them why they can't have what they want or whatever the situation is, isn't going to work because they cannot be logical in that moment. The emotional part of their brain has taken over and they are just flooded with emotion. And that's okay. And that's normal. And it's developmentally appropriate, particularly when they're younger and they haven't learned any tools for managing their emotions yet. And that needs to be okay. They need to get those emotions out. What happens when we punish is that our children's fight, flight, fear systems kick into gear. So sometimes when a child is having a tantrum and you come at them with a punishment, some children will fight back with you. Okay, so that those children have gone into fight mode. Some children will withdraw into themselves um, because they're afraid. So it looks like the tantrum has stopped. It looks like you've been effective, but what has really happened is that they're afraid of what is coming next. They're afraid of you. And so everything, they just withdraw and they freeze and they stop. And some kids will just run. Literally, they will flee. None of these things has helped them learn how to regulate their emotions. None of these reactions have helped them to learn how to manage their behavior. None of this has helped them learn any skills that will prevent the tantrum from happening in the future. All it has done is either, if you've got a strong willed child, they will fight against you. And if your child is not so strong willed, fight or flee. Or sorry, they will be afraid of you or they will freeze, right? And so even though punishment is what most of us know as children, it's not effective. So what do we do instead? This is where setting limits comes into play. Okay. And it's really simple. It's not necessarily easy, but it's really simple. So when you're setting a limit, all you have to do is say no. Some people will tell you, don't tell your children no, don't use that word, it's really triggering. It's okay to use the word no. It's simple, they understand it, they don't like it, but it's okay to use. When your child is in that mode where the emotional part of their brain has taken over, they cannot understand lots and lots of talking. So you need to keep it short and simple. Good rule of thumb is 5 words or less. So you see your child running across the room, you know they're about to snatch a toy from another child, you intervene and you say, no, I can't let you do that. No, you need to stop. Okay, keep it short, keep it simple. Then the emotion happens, and that's okay. They need to be allowed to have their emotional reaction. They're getting all those feelings out, all that stuff inside that caused them to be dysregulated in the first place. They need a chance to get all of that out. And your job in that moment is to just be there with them. Simple, yes. Easy, not so much. Okay. I can remember a time a few years ago. I was in the airport. I was getting ready to fly home to my family. My husband wasn't able to come with me, so I was on my own with my two children. My son was maybe, he might have been 3 at the time, 2 or 3. And oh my goodness, we were right in the height of sort of our, head butting because he can be very strong-willed. Um, and so can I. And so we used to butt heads a lot. And I remember being in the lineup, and new situations are really hard for him. And so we're in the lineup, we're getting ready to go on the plane. He's never been on a plane before, he's never been in an airport before. There were a lot of people around, obviously pre-COVID, and he was dysregulated because of all of that stuff. And so tantrum came up. Okay. And I'm standing there, it's in public, I'm in a lineup, I'm trying to keep my spot in the lineup. I've got my daughter with me as well. It was hard. Everyone's looking to see, you feel the judgment of other people when your child is so-called misbehaving. The thing is, he wasn't misbehaving. He was having an emotional reaction, then he just needed to get that out. Once he was able to get all those feelings out and he felt, um, that connection with me, he felt safe again, all was good. And so you just kind of need to weather that storm. And sometimes that lasts, 15, 20 minutes, and that's okay. Sometimes we don't have time for that. And I totally get that. And what you need to do in those situations is park it. Okay. So you can go back to it later. You can go on with your day. You can say, I hear you. I know you're upset. This is what we need to do. Go on with your day, get to the babysitters, do the school drop off, whatever you need to do, but you need to come back to it. Okay. It's really important that kids get that emotional release. It's really important that they come back and feel that warm, loving connection with you. Okay. I know often as a teacher during that drop off period, that is a really common time for kids to feel that dysregulation. Something's happened at home, then they're being dropped off at school, and parents are frantic. They're trying to get to work. It's hard on everybody. But knowing that, I can then be that person to bring that connection. Okay, so that's where it's really important to sort of build our village and talk to people who are in our children's world and make sure everyone's on the same page for how you're handling behaviors and emotions and all of that stuff, because it doesn't all have to be you. Okay, you can ask for help in those moments because that's a lot of pressure for it all to be on you. Okay, so what I want you to remember from all this, number one, tantrums are not bad. Your child is not bad if they have a tantrum. Okay, my oldest child is 9.5. Every now and then, not often, but every now and then, she still has a meltdown. She still has a tantrum because all those emotions build up and they have to come out. Okay, so your child is not bad if they're having a tantrum. They are just having an emotional release. Your job is just to be there, be witness to that, be that safe place for them, or to find another adult who can do that for you if you can't be with them in that moment. Okay. The second thing I want you to remember is that it is okay to set limits. It is okay to stop your child from, hurting another child, from pulling the dog's tail, from climbing on the furniture. That's all okay. Try and do it in 5 words or less. Expect the emotional reaction. Be there for them during, and you can talk about it after if you want. Usually you won't need to because they understand. They've had their release and then they can go on their merry way. But sometimes, particularly for older children, sometimes it's helpful to talk about it afterwards. Okay. I feel like there's something else that I wanted to mention. Oh, yes. Sometimes when behavior gets off track, it's more because it can be one of two things. It can either be because they're lacking some sort of skill or they need more information. Okay. Or our expectations are not appropriate for their age or stage. Okay. So, one example of needing more information, Okay, so for example, last night, my daughter likes to do crafts before bed, and she couldn't find this particular craft kit that she wanted to do. So she was upset. She just needed information about where she could look. That's all she needed. Okay, not a big deal. Sometimes your toddler might be really upset they can't find their blue sock, or whatever it is. They just need more information, or they need a little bit of help. My son, for example, unloading the dishwasher is one of his chores. He gets really upset about it. It's not that he doesn't want to help, it's that he's feeling overwhelming and he just needs a bit of assistance. I can do that for him. Okay. And then, so then the other part of that, healthy expectations. So, for example, if you've got a really active 3-year-old and you're standing in the lineup at the DMV, and you know that they're really active and spirited and you're going to be lined up for a really long time and you want them to line up quietly, it's not an appropriate or a healthy expectation for your child. It's just not going to happen. And so you're going to be upset, which will make him upset, and everyone's going to be miserable. But it's not because they're doing anything wrong. Their behavior is completely appropriate for their age and stage. Your expectations need to be adjusted and planned for. Okay. So when you're looking at a situation with your child, check and see first, do they need information? Do they need help? Are your expectations of them healthy and appropriate for their age and stage of development? And if it's neither of those two things, then probably a limit needs to be set. Remember that it's okay to set limits. It's okay to say no. Keep it to a minimum as far as words go, and then just be there for the emotional fallout afterwards. Okay. Like I say, this is simple, but it's not easy. It is really hard to manage a child's emotional reaction when we are running on empty. Okay. I see it so often, especially in the morning during drop offs, even as a parent, fights between parents and kids because parents are running on empty. They're tired. They have no time for themselves. If you yourself are well regulated emotionally, if you're looking after all those needs, it's so much easier to be patient for your child when they are having trouble. Okay. That's something I speak with my clients about all the time, how important it is to take care of yourself so that you can show up as the best parent for your child. Again, simple, but not easy. Okay. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. I would love to hear your questions. Let me know in the comments. If you would like to message me, if you have specific questions about a situation you're having, send me a message. And other than that, we will talk again soon. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.